So let's talk about lowering from the top of a crag or from a wall. This isn't too common where I live in Washington, but in other places in the United States and the world, it's very common to get to the top of the cliff and then lower down into it and then climb up out using a similar belay from above technique. So first thing I'm going to talk about is how to lower someone. And there are about a million different ways on how to actually lower someone. The way most people know about is the munter hitch. So I have my climber on this end of the rope, and you can refer to our basics video on how to tie a munter hitch. There are a couple different ways, but this is what it looks like in use. And it's not, it's not the worst thing you could possibly use, but it does have some drawbacks. One is if you don't keep the strands perfectly parallel while lowering someone, even just off to the side like this, it will kink out your rope. Especially if you're tied into the other end of the rope, then that'll cause a lot of twisting where you are, or once the climber gets to the bottom. And other drawbacks include that it's not exactly the most locking, but it does help. It's very useful in that if you lower the climber all the way down, all you have to do is flip it like so, and then you can belay them up again. So it's very versatile when it comes to that. The method I prefer to use is with my ATC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip my ATC with the larger beaner in straight into the focal point of the anchor, and then I'm going to use another carabiner. And since I always pair my ATC with these two, this really works. It helps. The carabiner shouldn't be larger than this. It helps if it's the same size or smaller. So this one's definitely smaller than this big guy. What I'm going to do is load the ATC like I normally would, climber, belayer end. So this end's going to my climber right here. I'm going to bring that back into the rope. And then I'm going to hook the brake strand into this carabiner. That's what we call a redirected brake strand. And it looks a little weird here, but if I pull it a bit, that's what it's going to look like when the climber actually weights it. Now this setup is definitely not hands-free, because you see how it's all my hand going on the belayer or the climber. So what we recommend to do is throw a third hand on, any sort of third hand, any sort of friction hitch you want to. You want to make sure that it actually works and make sure you have a locking carabiner. And then that way you have a bit of a backup in case you lose control, or I don't know, a bee stings you, go into anaphylactic shock or anything. So this is my preferred method. And the really cool part about this is if you have a long enough strand with the master point, once the climber is down on the ground, you can pop off your third hand, bring the ring up to the locker, and now it's just your standard auto blocking belay device. So that's pretty nice. You do need to make sure that you have enough length between this point and this in order for there to be adequate freedom for these carabiners to stay out of the way. But that's what I would use in this circumstance. More and more people nowadays are climbing with assisted braking devices. And those are pretty nice to have, actually. I just want to talk about, get this whole thing clean right here. So let's talk about using a gree now. So I'm going to clip the carabiners in the same way. Gree has those nice little pictures on it, so you just load it up the same exact way, then clip it in. Now this also requires redirecting the brake strand, so that way you can maintain control. See, it helps to redirect it over that friction bar. And then you don't actually need a third hand for this device while lowering, because it is an auto blocking, or sorry, it is a brake assist device. So all you have to do is really let go of that lever and it should jam back up. However, it does have a couple of drawbacks. The main one being this hammer part, how that moves up in order to pinch the rope, in order to cause the assisted braking, that can be messed with pretty easily. I'm even holding it down with my thumb, and I can easily pull rope out. So if you aren't careful, and you know, if it's resting on a rock like this, it won't lock, and then you have trouble. And you can also use it, just flip the rope out once your friend's on the ground and start belaying them up from the ground with that setup. So there are a few different ways how to lower someone down from the top. There are a number of different things you can do besides these that I've mentioned, but I just wanted to go over the basics. And then you get into more advanced systems later on.